This is the March 21st meeting of the Des Moines Waterworks.
And this is a special meeting, and we're going to also be having a closed session here. Before we go into closed session, is there anyone from the public that has any comments for us? Seeing no one, then I need a motion to go to closed session.
Before you have the motion, I'd like to have a discussion a little bit about our procedure.
Okay.
Does anybody think when we come out of this meeting that we might take an action? And the reason I ask that question is it's not having heard from our counsel or from what everybody's might say in the closed session. It would seem to me that any decision we might make about appeal or anything else probably takes a little bit of, it would be wise for us to kind of be deliberative about that decision. Meaning, I'm not sure that I'm going to hear anything today that's going to, prompt me to need to make a decision today whether we do an appeal or take some sort of action. And I know there are maybe people that are here, Barry Beeman, and others that, if we could safely say that we're going to come out of the closed session and not take an action.
I don't know
today.
If we say that, Graham.
What action do you think we would take?
Well, I don't want to say that here until we go into closed session, but I don't want to say that we will not take action.
And if I may also add in, under your action items, you do have a staff recommendation on taking an action item.
Oh, well, that's true. You do have that.
I do have one that might have some interest to those in the audience or others, readers, involving a regional engagement or further regional engagement.
That's fair enough. I mean, and I guess that's why I bring it up. I mean, I just thought, if we could say it that we wouldn't, fine. If we can't say that, then fine enough too. So Perry, you have to wait for it.
Any other discussion on that?
We'll only be
tried, Perry.
We'll only be 5 or 6 hours, so it'll be fine.
We don't have any outlets for charging, so
that's right. It's going to be that.
If I may, again, I would suggest a motion, but perhaps it's important to read the recommendation from myself and legal counsel on the closed session. The CEO and general manager and legal counsel request the Board of Trustees to hold a closed session under 2151C to discuss strategy with counsel following the Federal District Court ruling on the clean water litigation and the related state legislation involving dissolving Des Moines Waterworks. Each of these topics should be discussed in closed session to avoid disclosure likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of Des Moines Waterworks. So I would ask, please, for a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, take a roll.
That's a roll call.
It's a roll call, okay.
David Carlson.
Aye.
Leslie Gearhart.
Aye.
Graham Gillette.
Aye.
Susan Huppert.
Yes.
Mark Wallace.
Aye.
All right, we're back in open session. It's 5:45, and we do have, we don't have any action items from our closed session, but we do have one action item here. I have an appointment of Sue Huppert and Graham Gillette to the Des Moines Waterworks as Des Moines Waterworks Board representatives to the Regionalization Review Committee, and I would need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I give a little context?
Sure, go
just
right ahead.
For the benefit
Go right ahead.
of the record, if not the board itself. There's been a number of discussions over many years on regionalization. The Central Iowa Regional Drinking Water Commission is an example. The technical advisory group from that will be meeting this week to talk about the long-term plan. There are often opportunities to further move forward with our initiatives as Des Moines Waterworks and regionally providing drinking water for Central Iowa. My thought is that it would be beneficial to have a couple board members involved in future discussions as we hear new ideas as alternatives to Black and Beach, moving us forward as a regional utility in partnership with our suburban customers. So for that reason, I would certainly suggest moving forward with the appointment of Sue and Graham. And I would suspect that we will meet with some frequency in the next several months on a number of issues associated with review of where we've been and getting a sense more specifically from the board to direct staff on where we want to go.
And am I fair to assume that there's that piece of it, working with you and the staff to think about that, but then there's a potential that the day could come where other entities could have similar committees and that we might meet with them.
Yeah, thank you, Graham, because
we don't have that formal now, but that's kind of what we're saying to those other entities is that we have a mechanism to use where board members and staff from Des Moines Water Works can meet with board members and staff of those other entities to discuss these issues. Is that a fair way to say it?
It's very well stated. I added one little data point to that I believe I've had conversations with the board about before, and that's currently myself, representatives of the Urbandale Water Board and the West Des Moines Water Board have had a number of discussions on what we see as unique regionalization opportunities moving forward. And in the context of those discussions, there's been an interest in several of our suburban communities to have perhaps members of their board also involved or electives involved, depending on whether they have a board or not, in a larger discussion moving us forward as an alternative to Black and Veatch.
And this committee would work like other committees. It would report to the board and that sort of thing.
Right. Under your rules, you have two standing committees, as you know, Finance and Audit and Planning. This is an ad hoc under your rules, which can be appointed by the chair and approved by the board itself, and we would see it as ad hoc, staff supported, and with a reporting requirement back to the larger board, just as Planning and Finance do now.
Great.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, passed unanimously.
Leslie, and I apologize for not having a general manager's comment issue here.
I thought that
on
was
the
intentional.
agenda. I'm sorry?
I thought that was intentional.
Well, it would be intentional for you not to have it on there because I wouldn't be talking. Laura, do we have a handout for folks? I did want to provide you information on a group that I have entered into agreement with on behalf of Des Moines Water Works under the spending authority associated with my authority on your behalf. A group called Concordia. They have helped us with a number of communication issues surrounding Des Moines Water Works, our interest in regionalism moving forward, and we have some materials there that I think may be helpful to you or informative to you. Some of these have already been distributed at my request to a number of our partners and legislators in particular.
Thank you. Does this information help? They're nodding their heads for those of you who aren't.
That can't hear them.
Well, and along those lines, to be responsive, really, I think Laura and Jen may have views here about our interactions with the Concordia Group and the value or lack thereof.
But
It's terrific. Working late along with several staff on Friday afternoon and whipping up graphics and content, media placements, media interviews, language for talking points. A lot of it's our language, but they really finesse it in a way that is palatable to our audience, and it's been tremendous value.
Well, and I think Laura and Amy and Jen worked closely on this along with Bill, if I'm correct, and thank you very much.
Yeah, good job.
The material has been extremely helpful. Like on Sunday when we were at the historical building, lots of people were interested in this and wanting to know more information. So, thank you.
But do you think, I mean, I'm not,
I've
do you
got a
think,
bow out. Sorry.
okay, good, he's got a one banquet to go to. Do you think this is swaying opinion among legislators?
Yes, I do. I hear this up at Capitol a lot, which is, you guys did a wonderful job of muddying the waters enough to slow this down in the House. And we've been giving those, putting them on the desks of House Republicans and moderate Republicans, people in our service area. And this is part of a larger piece, which is we have this going on, but then Concordia Group also has the radio ads going on, the social media stuff going on. These are being distributed in various ways. They're planting seeds on our blog posts that people are picking up. So, and to further that, they have contacts with people that Bill and I don't talk to on a regular basis. And that was one of the reasons we secured them, was because they said, we can give you unexpected allies. And I believe they've done that. They reach out to people that they know personally on these issues as well. Nick Ryan, for example, is a friend of Jay Byers at the Greater Des Moines Partnership. If they would flip their declaration, that would be interesting to our legislators. So I think Concordia was a good choice because they reach out in many different ways, and they have changed hearts and minds of the public to reach out to legislators, and we'd use the information to actually reach out straight out to legislators as well. And they could not have been better to work with through this whole process. I think it was a good investment.
Is it going to, and Laura kind of alluded to this, it was very difficult timing to, at 4 o'clock on Friday, hear an adverse ruling from our federal district court Judge Strand, which we wanted to be sure that we were in front of the news cycle, provided the first news release, contacted our media allies, but news release, talking points, contacts with media on the dime, late on a Friday, frankly, when many of the representatives on the other side, the defendants, simply weren't ready. So they provided, I think, significant assistance just in that one situation, Graham, as well as a number of situations where they have had us with media contacts that we otherwise wouldn't have had. Sorry.
Can I just say, again, I don't think we can say this often enough, how much we appreciate all of this staff. I saw Jen earlier today, and she was telling me that on Friday afternoon, while Laura was on vacation, somehow she found a business center at the hotel where she was staying, or close by.
Abroad?
Yeah, in another country, and quickly
She wanted to get away from the Sarcone.
So it's just, I mean, everyone, whether it's Ted, between Christmas and New Year's and the number of water main breaks we had a few years ago, or Amy following up on an email that were sent on a Saturday or Sunday. Just thank you to everyone for what you do. And to your point, Laura, I know how tough it is.
Yeah.
So just thank you, everyone, for what you're doing.
I just thank Ted for wearing a tie so often. I mean, that's taking one for the team.
Thank you for noticing.
That's taking one for the team.
His employees have noticed too, Graham. They think he's in tryouts. But thank you very much. That's the only
Motion
comment
adjourned.
that I wanted to add.
Yeah.